Game one of the World Championship happened today. The much awaited Ding, the world champion, versus Gukesh, the challenger. Game one usually is a slow affair in most World Championship, but not today. Today it was a heavy game, a very intense battle with a lot of twists and interesting stuff. So the first interesting thing happened in the first move itself. Ding plays e6, a move he is not that well known to play. And Gugesh had this in his preparation. He continued with d4, d5, and now he went for the classical variation after knight f6, e5, the stay needs variation. He gains space in the center with f4, and Ding plays c5. And this is where Gugesh surprised Ding a little bit. He played knight to e2. The most common move you can see here is knight to f3, bringing out the undeveloped piece. He moves the already developed knight back, and he's preparing c3. He's kind of forcing black to take if he wants to not allow c3 directly. So Ding spent a lot of time here. Not here. After knight c6, c3, here he spent a lot of time, almost 30 minutes, and he plays a5. Gugesh plays bishop knight f3 instantly. a4. Gugesh brings out the bishop. You can see the time difference. So 30 plus minutes difference in the clock. Bishop e7, g4. This was a critical moment of the game. Basically, Gugesh has got a position which he likes. This is not the kind of position Ding would love, right? It's tactical, it's aggressive, and you could see in the body language also, Ding was nervous here. Ding was not happy in this position. Now, he took 14 minutes and played queen a5. There are many ideas here. Yeah, there's queen b6, f6, castles. All these are natural moves for Ding. He chooses queen a5, trying to put pressure this way and this way. Gugesh just brings out his bishop a3. You don't want to break the pawn structure, so b3, and now takes b4. A very important intermezzo, because if you take directly after knight takes, you can't take with this knight because the c3 pawn would hang. And after knight takes, you'll have to take with the bishop. You can't take with the knight, against c3 would hang. And the bishop would not be so great there. So b4, pushing the queen away, and now he takes. So this position is comfortable for white, you could say, because white has the breaks, but it's not very easy to play f5. Castling is coming. It looks very comfortable for white. This pawn is a weakness in the long run. Um, but black has also got knight c4 on tap. Knight c4, and then it can come to b2 if it wants. f6 is still there. So there are ideas for Ding as well. And Gugesh just castles. So far, position is fine. You can see time advantage for Gugesh is a lot. Like, how much is it? 50, almost 40 plus minutes advantage on the clock. Ding plays knight c4, bishop comes back, and now bishop d7, and now queen e2. This was a critical moment because Gugesh had choices. Knight b5 was one, pushing the queen away. f5 was possible, but it was a bit committal. So the point of f5 is after takes, you take with the knight, and d5 is hanging. So this would be good for white because black's king is still stuck in the center. But after f5, Ding would just castle and he is better here. So probably Gugesh didn't want to commit to f5 yet, but he spent some time here, like a lot of time, and the advantage almost became even on the clock. He plays queen e2, and now Ding takes over. Ding recognized this moment to take this tactically rich position to positional waters. How did he do that? Takes, takes, knight b2. You might think, what's a knight doing on the second rank? There's no purpose, right? c3 is hanging, queen e3, and now rook c8, again pressure on c3, rook c1, and now queen c4. Black's pieces are slowly coming in. The position is now looking better for Ding, for the world champion. Pawn f5, Gukesh realizing he has to do something, but now just queen d3. Cannot afford to exchange queens because there are so many weaknesses in the position, and this would just be bad for Gukesh. He goes for queen e1, and now bishop g5. More pressure. Rook c2, only move to save c3, and now rook also jumps in. There's a threat. Rook takes and queen takes rook is the threat. Gukesh goes for h4. Bishop came to f4. Queen b1. You can see white's pieces are all like hiding, like covering away. Black's pieces are also active. And this pawn is for now a strength. Here, Ding took on c3, takes, 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 takes. And now knight e2, attacking the queen. Queen moves and takes the e pawn. Right now, black is up by 2 pawns. Takes, takes. Now, this position was the most critical moment of the whole game. Here, it's 2 pawns down, but black's Ding's king is still in the center of the board. And the only way to keep this king in the center was to play bishop c5, stopping black from castling, and then slowly improve the position. Queen will move away, queen comes in, queen f2, and there is compensation for Gukesh. Instead, Gukesh blundered here with queen c2, thinking if black castles, there is still bishop c5. So black cannot castle. So that is what he thought, but after Ding's next move, Gukesh was lost. Queen c2, queen c4. You can't exchange queen, so you'll have to move away, and then black will just castle. And once black castles, it's clean to extra pawns. The bishop pair is not worth much because there's not much to do. So now it's just a matter of converting the advantage. Ding castles, bishop went to d4. There is still some pressure on the dark squares. Knight d3, queen e3, rook takes, bishop takes, and e5. Bishop takes, queen takes g4. Ding shows why he is the world champion. Like the e5 was a very important move to play. This was the only move to keep the advantage. If you don't play e5, the knight is gone. So this had to be calculated beforehand, and you calculated correctly. So when bishop takes the pawn, the g pawn falls, and now bishop blocks, and now comes bishop f5, heading to e4, defending the knight, heading to e4. Another exchange is coming, and still pawns are hanging. Bishop g3, defending h pawn, bishop e4, and now king h2. I mean, don't blunder mate. Of course, Ding is not going to blunder it. He plays h6, making space for the king, preparing bishop takes. And now after bishop h3, here Gukesh is in time pressure. He has only 4 seconds to make the next one. Like around here, he had less than a minute for the last 10 moves of the game. And he played all this very fast. And now after this, the queen just comes to d1, threatening a mate in one. Gukesh tried to make space for the king. Queen check, king moves, another free pawn taken. Here, Ding is in his element. They've reached time control. Ding is not at the board. Ding is out in the dining area having a sip of coffee or water. And Gukesh is left to, to the ruins of the position. Bishop e6, check. One last trick, because if king moved here, can you find the winning move for white? Boom. Queen takes and you get this. So it becomes equal. But Ding sidesteps that by going to h8. And here Gukesh resigned because black's pieces are just too active and the a pawn is also coming into the picture. So a very nice win for Ding. In the opening, Gukesh had the upper hand on the clock and on the board. He had a position which he wanted, which suits his style, and Ding was put under pressure. But he withdrew that. I mean, he fought against pressure and turned that game completely into his favor. So, very good start for Ding in the World